RoadGlideSully here, checking in from the once independent Lone Star State. So, I know what you're probably going to say, but I love me some McClellan Virginias. And yes, I've paid exorbitant prices for McClellan Virginias, and probably will in the future as well, as long as they're out there. But what I really like is that kind of ketchupy flavor. I know it sounds like everybody else's statements about McClellan tobacco. I get it. And I know what you're probably going to say. Like I said, you're going to say, let it go. I'm not doing it. I am not playing that dang song. So anyway, I've been playing around with some toppings of my own. And if you've looked for toppings, tobacco topping recipe, or anything like that, you've probably run into pretty much a brick wall. Why? Well, because I think most of the manufacturers tend to think that their tobacco toppings are a trade secret, and I would tend to agree with that. There's a reason why nobody has replicated McClellan's topping, including myself, and I don't plan on it. But I do like that kind of vinegar / ketchup flavor, and so I've been playing around with making a vapor. And I started off by using TSR1 Red Ribbon, which, if I'm not mistaken, is a Sutliff Red Ribbon tobacco, and also Sutliff Perique. And I've made a batch, and I call this border crossing. I was talking with Four-Eyed Piper, and he has been doing some experiments trying to infuse tobacco with whiskey. I have done the same thing, and I've actually had pretty decent success with it. I've done 2 different versions of it, one with proper English, one with some other English. I don't remember. Proper English is the one that I've been making, and I tend to like that a little bit better. But what I do is I soak oak cubes, medium toast oak cubes, same as you would flavor, say, a beer with. You can get them from homebrew stores, that kind of thing. I soak them in bourbon, and then I take the chips and I put them, not any of the bourbon, but just the soaked chips, into the jar of tobacco. And I leave it there for a couple of weeks, and then I take it out, put it in my tobacco press it into a puck, and cut it up and smoke it from there. It's actually turned out really well. But in a conversation with Four-Eyed Piper, we started talking about like topping recipes and the fact that there aren't any, and pretty much needing to just kind of experiment, do some experimentation on our own. And I got a wild hair and decided that I would make my own topping, which I've done. I'm not going to tell you the recipe just yet, although I think it's working out pretty well. I got to work on concentrations and a couple of things just to see if I can get the right level of ingredients. Basically, this is it. I call this border crossing. So I originally called this border crossing. Then when I put it on the tobacco, I was like, hey, why not? It's now border crossing. The reason I call it border crossing is because it's got tequila in it. And it's also got some molasses, which I thought might work well in place of sugar, and it's got distilled water, and so maybe a little vinegar. Definitely a little vinegar. So like I said, I like that vinegary flavor in McClellan, and so I'm not trying to replicate it, but I am trying to experiment with it to see what kind of flavors I can get. And so far, this is turning out pretty nice. It's got a nice flavor. The molasses, it's got a nice flavor. It actually does have a nice flavor since that's what I'm smoking. But it's also got a nice aroma. And the molasses really stands out. I'm wondering if maybe I went a little bit too heavy on the molasses, but I actually am kind of okay with that because it plays really well with the tequila. And so I've made a test batch. This is all that I have left. I didn't make a whole lot. I've sent some to a couple of other folks just to give it a try, but I'm going to play around with it a little bit more. I've got some pretty straight Virginias that I picked up at in San Diego at Laramie and Racine Tobacconist, and I've made a vapor with it already using Sutliff ribbon. Sorry about that. The Sutliff ribbon Perique, straight Perique, and so I've already mixed up a batch. That's also what I did with this one, the TSR1. I'm sorry, TS1R, Red Ribbon from Sutliff. And so I'm kind of just experimenting with the amount of topping, how to apply the topping, that kind of thing. So stay tuned, because I'm going to eventually do another video where I'll probably maybe even talk about the recipe. And, you know, I was going back and forth, and I'm like, well, do I want to give away the recipe? It's kind of my thing. But to be honest, I'm not going to open up a tobacco shop anytime soon. And there's just not much information around tobacco toppings on the YTPC. So why not? Why not share what I learned? Seems like a good idea. Like I said, this has got about 30% Perique. I do like me some Perique. And it actually works out really well. So between the molasses, creating the kind of that dark, sugary taste and aroma with 30% Perique, this thing's turning out pretty nice. So I'm going to keep playing and keep mixing. I'm going to do a couple of other concentrations to see if I can get the mix down a little bit better. So these are great little bottles, by the way. They're just a little spray nozzle on them. They'll hold, I want to say, 4 ounces, which is perfect just for making small batches of toppings and kind of playing around with it, because you're not up much. Just a little bit that I used, I put that much on there, and it was pretty full. So I'd imagine I'm going to use quite a bit of this, maybe even a full jar on a couple of ounces, because I only did maybe a half an ounce on the first experiment. So it'll be interesting to see what levels of topping I need to do and the concentration levels of the different ingredients to see if I can get that flavor that I'm looking for. And again, I'm not trying to replicate McClellan. I'm just trying to kind of replicate that essence. I was talking with PT Daly today, and he indicated that he had done one with RC515, which is kind of Sutliff's version of 5100 Red Cake. My experience so far with that has been that it's really kind of harsh. The vinegar flavor on it is very harsh. So I'm actually looking forward to trying that blend with some Perique to see if I can mellow that out a little bit, and then add some of this topping on top of it to see how that turns out. Got a little storms passing through the area here. I don't know how well you could hear that, but so anyway, I'll keep you updated on the project as I go along. I think, unless it fails miserably, and then you'll never hear from me again on the topic, and you'll know. You'll just know. It's just been a while since I've done a video, and I've been kind of playing around with some things, making some progress on my office. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm much more well lit at this point. And you can see I've got some lights. I put together some LED strip lights that I've got a little dimmer switch on so I can move it around. And I'm telling you folks, these things can get bright, and I mean like bright as the sun bright. So we're not going to go that bright with them, but I wanted something just to eliminate some of the shadows. That's all I got. Just been doing some trading, obviously some smoking, and working on my office build. So I'm getting closer. You can see my tobacco cabinet behind me. I do have an air conditioner coming for the office because it's going to get hot out here in the summer. But I've got a portable air conditioner that's going to make its way to the house, and I'll get that set up. Selling some stuff, getting rid of a bunch of junk. Luckily, you guys can't see what's on the other side of this camera because there's a whole bunch of stuff that I got to figure out what to do with, how to organize it, etc. So that in and of itself is a lengthy task. So that is all I got for you all today. Until next time, well, even after next time, I'm RoadGlideSully. Keep the rubber side down, folks.